Nerd on the Podcast is proudly partnered with Apogee Electronics and Odyssey Headphones, leaders in the field of audio.
And you sat in the theater and you watch the film, and you don't realize that, like, oh, we're actually following this up because Ryan Coogler is here with us today, and he's going to do a Q&A. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need but deserve, where all levels of nerd are welcome.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you like that? Is that better? Okay.
That's good.
So this is my third time
He's
doing
been
it.
talking a mile a minute today, except for during
That was wonderful.
minute.
That was the best one you've done.
That was
fair.
my entire career has been built up to this moment.
3 years.
Let's get into it. Sometimes film transcends the medium, allowing us to recount significant moments in history, like being a fly on the wall in someone else's day. Today, we dive deep into my favorite person to be jealous of's debut feature film with Fruitvale Station. But let's get right into it. Let's introduce the host. I am Tom.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Corey.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation that is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks, like you get early access to these episodes. You get bonus episodes that nobody else hears. They're exclusive to you. And you get access to secret channels on our Discord server that only you have access to. And you can talk with us and other members of the Nerd On Nation directly. You get what we call the Nerd On Nudge on our other weekly show, the Nerd On Update, where we answer your questions first. But yeah, do check it out. It does allow us to grow. It allows us to upgrade our content. Like recently we upgraded our cameras. What? Say what?
Look at this quality.
Check it out. nerdon.tv/Patreon and join that Nerd On Nation. And also check out that Discord that I was mentioning, nerdon.tv/Discord. It's a really fun conversation over there, and it's growing by the week. By the day. We're in triple digits now of members, so it's pretty fun over there. So do check that out. And a huge shout out to our partners, Odyssey and Apogee. Apogee have equipped us with these microphones, the Hype Mic. They are an incredibly versatile microphone that I cannot recommend enough. You can use them on your iPhone, iPad, your Mac, your PC. We use it for everything that we do, and so I highly suggest it. I know that some of you have been reaching out to us to see what it is we use. So Hype Mic, check it out. And check out Odyssey headphones. We use their LCD ones. They're comfortable. They sound yummy. Check them out. They're a wonderful company. Great people to work with, and lots of fun stuff coming in the future. So check them out. Odyssey headphones. They've got these. They've got their gaming headset, the Penrose, and the Mobius, which is dope. But all of their products are quality, so do check them out. Odyssey. And that, my friends, is the housekeeping. Let us get into this episode. This episode.
This episode, baby, it's February. We had to do it to them. We're talking about black artists and black films and black art, particularly. But we're gonna go into our first two segments of the show. This is one film.
It is.
So that means at the end of the episode, we're gonna rate it. So that brings us to our first segment, everyone, which is Guess That Grump.
No one wants a song.
I got nothing. Song in this is just sound design. If you're brand new to Guess That Grump, that is never our theme song.
But seriously, if somebody out there wants to develop a theme song, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it.
By all means, go for it.
Do keep in mind we will cover movies like this.
If it's a remix songified version of just clips of us, that'd be wonderful.
Oh my gosh.
So Guess That Grump is the first segment of our show where we are going to go around the digital screens and guess who's going to have the lowest score from a rating of 1 to 5. And no matter how high the number is, the lowest one in the group will be the grump for the week. Since I always explain it, and I never get it wrong, and we never improvise this part
ever.
And I have
Not
deep history with this film.
So you want me to go first?
To go and have Caitlin go first.
Oh, okay. You're going to have me go first.
Unexpected.
Okay.
Right? That's how the saying goes?
Wait, did you pick me or are
that's
you
how
just
that
having
goes.
me go first?
No,
okay.
you're going first.
It's Caitlin.
Okay.
It's Caitlin.
I think Josh.
Josh. Oh.
This is difficult because this is a hard film. So like, it's hard to say who's going to be the grump about a movie like this.
I am going to say the grump will be Caitlin.
Oh.
Not despite what I think.
Okay.
Timothy?
Me.
Timothy Dalton?
Think it'll also be Caitlin.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah, I thought a long time about this last night, like way longer than I should have. I usually write my guesses down before if I can. And then since I go last, I feel like I do have the burden of adjusting possibly a little bit. However, I don't have a solid answer for this. I thought for like a good hour and a half and I just went, I'm going to go to bed. Screw it. Maybe I'll figure it out.
Wow.
Still haven't figured it out.
You mean my whole last year? Okay.
For balance, I'm going to go with Josh.
Okay.
Because
wow, so no votes on Tom or Corey. That's wild.
Nerd on Nation
Oh, isn't that crazy?
spoke loudly. So if you want to be a part of our episodes, you could take part in polls if you join the Nerd on Nation, and if you get it right, guess what? You could be Tom.
The guess that Gator Grumper, Ryan Coogler, guessing Grump.
We got more
You gotta
words.
switch it in. You gotta keep
We're
it
gluten
constant.
free. Where's
switching it out.
Gatorade? We're missing
becoming
words.
topical. So join the Nerd on Nation. You can take place if you get it right. If you guess the Grump correctly, you get a shout out on our show. The Nerd on Nation has spoken, and it didn't speak that loudly because it did have some votes across the board, but the consensus generally is that it's going to be Caitlin.
Well,
For the Nerd on Nation. So that goes at the end of the episode when we do reveal our scores. It's going to be me and Tom, Josh, then Caitlin.
So let's get into the complete spoiler of that Guess That Grump segment with our next segment, which is going to be our initial reactions and our first impressions. And for drama's sake, I'm going to go last.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
Yeah.
I was going to
Who
suggest that.
wants to go first?
for drama.
I'll start it off.
Do it.
I talked about this in our digital green room a little bit. I had seen clips of this prior, but never the entire film. I knew about the event it was based on. Not at the time. I was in New York at the time of the event. However, in the years following, I did learn about it. I'm from the Bay Area myself. My sister, my sister lives in Oakland, and so I was aware of what it was based on before going in. And hot damn. I think we did an episode recently where we answered a question of what's something I don't think this is exact wording, but you struggle with suggesting to people. And I wouldn't necessarily say I would struggle with suggesting this movie to people, but it reminded me of the same kind of feeling I got when I watched Blue Valentine, where it was like, I think this is an important film. I think everyone needs to see this once. It's probably not something I'm going to just like pop in. But I don't think much like Blue Valentine, I don't think the experience of watching it is something I'm going to lose with time. Like with a lot of other movies, like, you can vaguely recall like, oh, I think I saw this here. Like I'm going to remember where I was, what I was doing, and the visceral reactions I had while watching it. This is something that I think socially is very important. And I feel as though it has some kind of, with the success of Ryan Coogler's other films, kind of slipped through the zeitgeist a little bit of his catalog. And I hope it doesn't all the way. I hope people still talk about this film for years and years to come, instead of comparing like, Black Panther and Creed, or, I hope they include this one in the conversation because it deserves to be.
Next.
Nice. I'll go next. I'm trying to remember when exactly that I saw it, and I don't remember I have a vague, I believe it was when Black Panther came out, and Michael B. Jordan, it was like, oh, I want to see more of his stuff. And this is just kind of like one of those quote happy accidents of like, oh, there's this movie, Fruitvale Station. And I had heard critically good things about it. I had heard that it was good, all that kind of stuff. And I watched it and I was like, holy shit. Especially with Octavia Spencer. I always love anything that she does. So I just remember like watching it and going, holy shit, this is really good. And really, really fucking important to see. And I walked away really enjoying what it was doing and showing me this man's life. Kind of a dramatic interpretation of some things, but watching
it's
it
really only
going,
a 24-hour period, except for like a flashback or two.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed it. And we'll get into favorite parts and whatnot in a bit because I don't want to be spoilery. So
Yeah,
I liked it a
free,
lot.
baby. Caitlin?
So I went into this movie blind. I like going into movies blind. And sometimes that's the better thing. Sometimes it's the worst thing. I think the Room was the one I saw before. Not The Room, just Room.
With Brie Larson.
Yes. Yeah, that was one I went into completely blind.
So
and
you
that
go
was a
into
rough
really
one.
harder topics.
Yeah.
Okay. Not knowing. Okay.
Maybe
She
read
just-
a synop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick
well,
synop.
yeah, I like going into things blind every now and again, and this was one of the ones where that was definitely a thing I regret. Whenever I see things happening in social media, like really terrible stories like this, and some of this hit home for me because I have a friend who went through not the same thing, kind of a different subsection of it. So some of it hit home, and it was a tough watch. Whenever I see videos like the one that it starts out with, I see what this film is in those few moments of time. So it was hard to see all of those things in my head and then have to watch them. Knowing what's coming.
Yeah.
Like the whole film is about perspective, and it's hard to have the perspective before you watch the perspective too. So it was a hard watch. That's it for me.
Oh, she didn't like the movie. So I'm gonna go next, and I'm pretty sure Corey suggested this film on our docket, and I said, "Are you sure?
Are you sure?
I said, are you sure, baby? Because it's not like Caitlin had just mentioned. It's not easy. It's not. I'm gonna go watch a movie today. No, it's tough. So let me go back to 2013 for me, and this is probably probably in May 2013, because this is probably, so the reason why I remember this, because in 2013, that summer, I became single. And I remember going to the theater to watch this film before it came out worldwide. And so like studying film production and theory at Sacramento State University, watching a movie that comes out early, that had just won at Sundance, was important. It felt like I was becoming part of the film community more and more. And it hits even closer that, you know, the professors that were excited about it were excited because Ryan Coogler, the writer and director of the film, had taken the classes I'm taking. So there was this little bit of a like, oh, I'm walking the same steps he was walking. So I watched this film like sometime in the summer or like May, April-ish of 2013. So before it came out worldwide. And, you know, I sat in the theater. It was at the Domes. If you're from Sacramento, you know what I'm talking about. And Sacramento State was like, yo, made from Sac State. You know, Ryan Coogler made this film and won it at Sundance and blah, blah. And I was like, cool. And, you know, you sat in the theater and you watch the film, and you don't realize that like, oh, we're actually following this up because Ryan Coogler is here with us today and he's going to do a Q&A afterwards. And so my professor, Dr. Pomo, curated this Q&A, and we talked about some things, and he's like, yeah, and then he'll be able, and then Ryan Coogler will sit, be in the lobby, and then you can take a picture with them, or you can ask him a thing, and they had these little cards, and I think I probably posted on my like Instagram once or twice or something like that, but the card like made a sack state and it had his picture on it, and I remember meeting him. I'll talk more about that later, but watching the film in the theater, there's a lot to take away, especially if you are someone who wants to, I'm gonna say like John Constantine, dabble in filmmaking. And there's a lot of good lessons to learn, and there's a lot of wonderful, very simple things that I think people who watch the film, more than the subject matter, that's where your story is. That's how you know you have something worth making, but how you make it, and that you don't need all the money and all the technology and all the things in the world to make your story work and be powerful and be the grand jury dramatic choice at Sundance, which is a high honor. It's a very, very high honor, and it got him the deals to get this film distributed worldwide. And if you just pay attention to sound design and just performances and setting tones, it's those things that amplify what you're trying to do, that give it those rhythmic beats that are very, very important. So I have in the beginning of the episode, I joke about like the director that I have I'm most jealous of, because a lot of the things that he's done are all the things that I've wanted to do. Like I want to have the independently made, very powerful film, and then all of a sudden, Stallone's like, hey man, how about you do the next Rocky movie, and also here are the rights to it Rocky movie, so you can take it on forever, and then you can now do a superhero movie. So like, if you're not in awe of that, then I don't know what you'd be like. The only other person close to that is like, I mean, not even close to that, but the person that would probably be the original is probably Patty Jenkins, who did an indie movie, got an Academy Award performance out of it, then did Wonder Woman, and now is doing Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And so like, she's broken those barriers, like first female to do this, first female to do that. And it's like, wow. And then Ryan Coogler is just like making art and film at a level where Black people can feel proud of it, but it's also not just cannon fodder. It's not just like, well, here's your popcorn movie and walk away. It's something that's important, and it talks about something. And that's the thing that I'm about. Like, I never want to take away anything from like the entertainment value of like art and film and all that stuff, but like this film, this is what it can be. And it doesn't take $200 million to make it. That's what I'm saying. So I enjoy.
No, it was like what? I think only like 200,000 for the whole thing.
900.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
900,000. So
I know that. They got 200,000 in grants. Yeah. That's what it was. And Octavia produced it, and she forewent her salary.
Forrest Whitaker.
Well, he did too. Yeah, but I just wanted to talk about Octavia. Ryan Coogler had to sit down with her, and he's like, some of our funding fell through, and she went, well, don't pay me. Let's just make this movie.
Because it's an important movie to make.
I think that I really respect that.
And that's the thing, you don't get that if you're trying to like, well, let's just make a fun movie about the holidays. You get that where it's like, well, let's talk about something important. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about something that people are still talking about 4 years later. So, you don't get that out of your normal genres. So with that, we'll go on to our next two segments of the show, which are going to be our brief synopsis and our production. And I didn't ask who was going to do that before we started recording. So I am going to ask the host now, who wants to do the brief synopsis?
I'll do production.
I'll look up. Okay, never mind. Josh has got it.
Okay, Josh got the brief synopsis. So give it to us, Josh.
All right, brief synopsis. Though he once spent time in San Quentin, 22-year-old black man Oscar Grant, played by Michael B. Jordan, is now trying hard to live a clean life and support his girlfriend, played by Melanie Diaz, and young daughter, Ariana Neal. Flashbacks reveal the last day in Oscar's life in which he accompanied his family and friends to San Francisco to watch fireworks on New Year's Eve and, on the way back home, became swept up in an altercation with police that ended in tragedy, and it is based on a true story.
Mm-hmm. Production, distributed by the Weinstein Company. View Askew Films, Django Unchained, and Paddington.
Paddington,
the best movies ever made.
Director Ryan Coogler, Creed, Black Panther, the short film Locks. Producers Nina Yang Bongovi, who did Dope, Roxanne, Sorry to Bother You, Forrest Whitaker, Powder Blue, Chasing Pappy, songs My Brothers Taught Me, and I'll also throw in Octavia Spencer, who also helped produce the film, Low Key. Writers, Ryan Coogler, Black Panther, Space Jam, A New Legacy, which I just found out about last night. I didn't know he was doing that. Oh,
man.
The Sculptor short film. Cast, Michael B. Jordan, Just Mercy, Fantastic Four, The Wire, Melanie Diaz, Be Kind, Rewind, Lords of Dogtown, Charmed. By the way, I was racking my brain trying to remember what I knew her from, and it was Be Kind, Rewind. I haven't watched that film in like 10 years, but gem. She is a gem.
I promoted the launch of Charmed, and so I've seen a lot of her.
Yeah. Next up is Kevin Durant, Legion, X-Men Origins, Wolverine, Swamp Thing, Chad Michael Murray, One Tree Hill, Freaky Friday, A Cinderella Story, Anna O'Reilly, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Jobs, The Help, and Octavia Spencer, The Help, The Shape of Water, and Hidden Figures. Release date was January 19th, 2013 at Sundance, and then I'm assuming this is worldwide, July 12th. 2013. Runtime 85 minutes. Budget gross is a 900,000 estimate with a 17.4 million gross.
Wow.
Rotten Tomatoes score is 94%. Critics from 212 users, and 87% audience score from 39,247 users.
Bang, bang.
There we go.
So now we have
choice of words.
Now we're in spoiler fool territory. So get ready for them spoilers. And we're going to do our favorite parts, favorite characters, our qualms, and finally our rating.
I have not necessarily a favorite part, but a thing I want to talk about that is the reason this film hit so hard. And it is I'll call it the baggage of inevitability, or like, you know, how they talk about, I think it's Chekhov's gun. It's where you show a gun in a theater in the scene, you know, it's going to go off, and that's how you build a good amount of tension. I think
Hitchcock is with the bomb.
I was going to say, Hitchcock talks about, you know, that you can have a dialogue scene for 5 minutes that's really boring, but at the beginning of the scene, if you tell them that a bomb is going to go off at some point, everyone will listen to every single word that is said. And that's because I do think this film would work to a degree without that opening scene, right? But everything, knowing how it ends up, just gives everything this weight, and in good and bad, like, you know, heartbreaking, but also very beautiful, knowing that, you know, this is the last time he does this thing, this beautiful race with his daughter, is this wonderful thing he has. And it's just, I don't know. I think the thought process behind showing the smoking gun is a wonderful thing that makes this movie really stand out.
For me, the video at the beginning, what it does, it allows me to have like one, it shows me that Justice League doesn't work, but two, it allows you to feel like what I think film is supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And film is supposed to let you think like, I'm not watching a movie. I'm watching a perception, a prism, or a lens that the artist wants me to look through.
Yeah.
And so I don't get to see Michael B. Jordan. I see Oscar. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't see these actors. I see these characters. I see these people. These real people that went through these things. And it's a film, so obviously there has to be dramatization and adaptation and stuff like that. But it allows you to think like in that moment that what film does with values in human population. Like, it's not just a movie. Like, that's what I always sound like an asshole. Like, I always sound like an asshole. I get it. I'm just like, but stop just saying like, well, it's a movie. Well, it's like, it doesn't have to be. And it can be more, and it can give you that like sense of like, oh, I may be on one side or the other, but at least this makes me think that there are humans on the other side of this digital screen that I'm looking at, seeing this newsreel on. So
yeah, and like it you know, the audience is now has the burden of knowledge of what's going to happen, and it adds another layer to these things. So, you know, as long as he's not wearing that black t-shirt over the white shirt, you know, it's okay. Right now, it's fine. Everything's going to be okay. And it's that, you know, without showing that scene in the beginning, that moment that she goes, I got you a shirt, and he picks it up, there's no reaction because you don't know what that shirt means. But now that you've seen it, him picking up and putting on that shirt, you're like, oh no.
Shit.
Or like, the scene, if you don't have that scene in the beginning, that scene with his mom in the kitchen where she tells him to take Bart is meaningless. It's a nice scene between a mom and a son, but with the audience's burden of knowledge, you know that like there's a part of you that just wants to like reach the screen and be like, don't take the train. And it adds, I mean, I found myself, like I said, listening to every single word because they suddenly became 10 times more important. With everything. Or, the scene where he's talking to his daughter about how as long as she's there, she's safe, and talks about these plans for tomorrow. That scene's a good scene, but with the burden of knowledge, now it becomes this really, really amazingly written scene. Heartbreaking, yeah, but like the level of writing is elevated due to it.
Yeah, it's for me specifically with like. Not saying, I mean, you go into it knowing what's going to happen, but you have the real footage and then you watch the movie and you see the quote, seemingly everyday small events that are happening and you have a different perspective of like, oh, well, that's the shirt or that's the moment or that's the recommendation or that's the thing. It's like, whoa.
And, I watched a few people, some videos of people breaking this film down and thoughts and stuff like that because I was trying to gather as much knowledge as I could because I haven't watched a film in years that has really like shook me like that in a sense of like really all I could think about was learning more about this and what people thought about it. And obviously I couldn't talk to anyone because we were doing this episode, but like I really, really wanted to talk to people about it. So I ended up going down this rabbit hole of reviews, and this guy, he had this wonderful kind of point that in films, he compared it to Do the Right Thing and Training Day. And he was like, this isn't a crack against those films, but he's like, the thing that we've learned is that in film as a whole, cinematography and blockbusters especially, is that people's last day should be this amazing, go out in a blaze of glory moment. And what we really see from this film is that like that's not real. That's this is someone's last day, and he spent it spending some time with his daughter, kind of fighting with his girlfriend, trying to get his job back, and selling weed, and that was it. You know what I mean? And I think there's, to Tom's point, like this is what it could be. This is what films could be. It doesn't have to be this like. I think there's obviously a place for like movies like
the glitz and glam.
Yeah, or even monster movies like King Kong or horror movies. But like there is a subsect of film. I mean, I think it's the reason I like the movie Beginners so much is it has that same vibe of like what's really happening in this film in Beginners isn't a spectacle at all. It's just about human people. That's it. Like let's be a fly on the wall for these human people dealing with this life event, whether it's big or small.
Yeah.
And that's what Ryan Coogler really said. So he said that in the theater, he was like, I wanted to be a fly on the wall so that you, as an audience member, you don't get to make decisions. Like, you know what's going to happen and you're just there to witness. Yep. And it's kind of like the tragedy of witnessing and not being able to see. It's like Shakespearean. You have the singers in the background who have to say everything. Yeah. But there's actually a tragedy that happens with them because they have no say in what happens with the actual characters that they're watching. So, Yeah.
Anyway, that I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I thought it was important.
Kaylin, favorite parts?
The family gatherings. I mean,
like the dinner and stuff.
Oh yeah, making what was it, gumbo and everything for his mom's birthday.
Crab.
They showed like coming together as a family really well. And like when they go to, when he goes to pick up Tatiana at daycare and stuff, like they portrayed all of that really, really realistically. And they did a very good job with that.
The race with his daughter is one of my favorite parts.
It's really cute.
It's shot really well. Like it really
slow-mo
it's
works.
Such a simple little thing, but yeah, the angle it's shot at, and I mean, obviously Michael B. Jordan, I can see why, Ryan Coogler put him in every single film he's done. But it's all very natural. Like I've definitely we've all done that with a kid here or there somewhere, whether it's a niece or nephew or whatever it is. Just that that race or whatever it is, playing some game with them and
being ridiculous.
But yeah, just getting to be silly with a kid for a minute and being free. And it was, it's one of those scenes where, and the film does this too really well, where it does kind of for a minute let you forget that, it's not going to end up great. And that also, was one of those moments.
That moment pairs really well with the brushing your teeth to go to bed with Gumbo. And then he's like, you got Gumbo too. Cut to. He's brushing his teeth with his fingers. And there's one thing I want to kind of mention here. Like, it's interesting because I was really thinking, I was like, where was Corey in 2009 when this all happened? And that was me graduating high school. Yeah. And so you sing in New York, I was like, oh wow. And so for me, like, I was in Sacramento, so I was 2 hours away from, was it two? No, I was like 45 minutes away from San Francisco. And it was like that moment of like feeling 45, maybe an hour. Anyways, but it like watching this film again now for this episode, I was like, that was my like everything that they're doing and saying and how they are, what music they're playing is such a time capsule of that time for me. Like I was like that, like I didn't particularly speak all like that, but I was around a lot of my friends who did. And so it was just like, that's the thing too.
He nailed that Northern California, bruh.
Yeah, bruh. But then just like how everyone, there's a lot of like the moment between him and the guy that he meets to go sell the weed to at the water, talking about the 80 and things like that. Like you don't have to show a lot of landscapes, which he did, but like just the way people spoke, I was like, I know exactly what this was. And
I know who you are.
I was like, and have I acted like a couple of these people? For sure. And it's like, yeah, that fun, like you go and you're out in public and then you just like throw every good pickup line you got, even though you don't even think you're picking up any, fun, significant others or some people you're going to have fun with for the rest of the night. But like,
you're just out.
You're just out. You're just doing your thing. And like, but also it's just like how everyone keeps up with each other and like, all the, I'm going to say the rascally stuff because I grew up in neighborhood, not really the hood, but yeah, like you still respect the parents and stuff like that. So it's like there was this levels like, yeah, a lot of tall tees, a lot of hoodies, a lot of that stuff.
The grandma hanging up on him when he's at work.
It's like, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like a lot of that stuff. Or like seeing your friends at work and then, seeing, it's like that kind of stuff where I was like, man, like that was, it's like, I wasn't from that area. I never lived in the Bay Area like that. Like I was in San Jose, but like not as an adult, but like as growing up, it's like, yeah, that's, I felt that. I felt that a lot. I was only maybe 4 years younger than Oscar was at that time. So, yeah, that's one thing I like a lot about this film is that, kind of like what you're talking about, like with the video at the beginning, it kind of brings back this like idea that like these are humans and they capture it really well with the writing. That's why I really enjoy like character focused, but like where the plot's gonna go kind of stories. It doesn't kind of just run off the rails. But yeah, like that's a big taboo, quote unquote, in the writing community of doing like car explodes 24 hours earlier. Like, but when you use it in a real world sense, then you're like, oh, yeah, this is a story that I've never been told before, even though it uses the same powerful techniques. So
I mean, the reason I wanted to talk about it is just that. Like, I mean, we've seen it in films like what John Wick is the most recent one I can think of, where the film starts at the end and then goes back. Except I don't think. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love John Wick and all, but I don't think it's executed in the same way that the technique is used here, because then it picks up there, right? In a sense that everything's fine. And it just I agree with everything you said.
One thing I also really, really love is that there, like, we did our Guess That Grump thing and there was no music, because in this film there is no theme music. No. And I really like that because it's just, and you can ask Josh,
local artists and stuff.
You can ask Josh all the time, like, but sound design, but the sound design.
Can I talk real quick? Because I want to talk about that because that's one of my favorite parts, is more of a overarching element of the movie, and it is the sound design. It is subtle, but it's not at the same time.
Excuse me.
There are moments that, especially one particular moment is actually the moment when he's just after he's trying to get his job back, there's kind of like a rumble. And if you got 5.1 and you got a subwoofer, you feel it. And you do hear it because there's a rumble and there's kind of a higher register to the sound, but there's a lowness that is building this tension.
Rage.
And it's not the only time that it happens. It happens a couple of more times in the film, but you're getting a sense of how the movie even just feels by the way that it sounds. And I liked that it was simplistic in that sense, because there's also like cityscape noises that you hear throughout it, that kind of the soundscape of the movie. It has good sound, especially for not to knock on, I've been involved with a lot of independent movies, and oftentimes sound gets put to the side, and this didn't happen.
That's my
it
bad,
was, man. Huh?
My bad, man.
No.
Just like, no, because I worked on those, so shut up.
Every concept, every part of this movie, from the acting to the filming to the editing to the sound design to the mixing, everything was spot on and wonderful. And as an experience, you would not be able to tell, in my opinion, that this is a quote independent movie. Like it's really, really good front to back.
Maybe that's how you tell.
Yeah.
No, studios get involved going, we need more action.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about it, which I think works in his favor. And so one thing when I was studying was film grain versus digital noise. And so this film has a lot of digital noise. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, everyone, if you ever try to record a video in a really dark place, you had to just like synthetically, artificially increase the light that it's capturing, you get a lot of this crazy little fuzzy stuff. But that works really well in this film because it allows you to feel like there's this like frenetic emotion and energy happening in the darkness. And then it also gives you confidence, if you're watching this, everyone, that noise can work in your favor. Film grain can work in your favor if you know how to use it. And so that's one thing that like I've been very big on, like, I need it lit. I don't want noise. I don't want grain when I shoot the things I shoot. And then I get really scared to use shots that have noise. But when you know when you're going to use it and how you use it well, like watch this film and you'll see that and you're like, oh, well, they may have not had the best cameras. They may have not had the best lighting, but they utilized what they had like a way that, you know, indie video game designers have, like, hey, I only have this amount of like power to push this engine. That's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to make it really, really good. I
want to give a shout out to, I'm blanking on her last name right now. Rachel, she's his cinematographer for everything.
Okay.
Who shot all this. I'm looking it up right now because I want to make sure she gets a shout out on this, because I kind of did a deep dive on her work as well. Here it is. Cinematography. Rachel Morrison. Mm-hmm. She's shot mostly all of his films, including Creed and Black Panther and stuff like that. And I thought she just did an amazing job on this, especially on those intimate scenes in the kitchen and stuff like that. But just since we're talking about camera and camera effects and stuff like that, I wanted to give her a proper shout out.
Caitlin?
Oh my gosh, what are we on right now?
Another favorite
parts. I have a couple more too.
I mean, yeah, it's any of the family moments, like breakfast in the kitchen and like just those like soft family moments are pretty much all my favorites. That's it.
Two. I got two real quick. One of them is I had to rewind it and watch it a couple times because I just thought it was such a good choice, was when they get on the train the first time to go to the city. And it just stays on this shot of the stairs and the train leaving instead of switching to them immediately inside the train. And maybe I'm interpreting this wrong, but the way I felt about it is that was kind of Ryan's way of saying, like, all right, events are in motion.
Point of no return.
This is kind of it. The train has left the station.
I was just gonna, yeah.
But I thought it was a really unique choice because I feel like any other film would immediately, cut to them getting on the train or whatever. But leaving the audience in that moment is kind of like this kind of breath before the events happen. It's this moment of like, and here we go. I really kind of respect. I don't know any other filmmaker off the top of my head that's made something quite like that. Because it's not necessarily an interesting shot either. If
Sam
you look
Mendes
at it,
is really good at that.
Okay, that's a really good point. But it's not necessarily an interesting shot. It's kind of the stairs of where they were coming up, and the train's only taking up like maybe a fourth of the frame.
It's nice composition too, and that's again, it's kind of like when you first when you're first get your driver's license. That's probably the most safe driver you are. But when you're just out of like film school, you probably use the most technique you'll ever use.
Yeah.
So
the other scene I wanted to talk about is a tough one. And I even did some research on why it was included in the film or what Ryan was trying to say as a filmmaker. And it's the dog scene in the film. And, I wasn't sure if that was really something that happened or whatever. So I looked it up, and it wasn't something that happened to Oscar Grant. It was something that happened to Ryan Coogler's brother. And he decided to include it in the film because he did know that Oscar I think he conducted interviews and stuff like that, but he knew that Oscar wanted to get a house so he could get a dog, specifically a pit bull. And Ryan talked about in this interview about how he thought that the pit bull he related to his experience of being a black man in America to the kind of same rap pit bulls, because you never hear about pit bulls doing good things. You only hear about them when it's something bad. And he wanted to include that scene, not only because it happened to his brother, but it's kind of a foreshadow of like, no one's there to help. No one cares that this pit bull got hit, and no one's there to help Oscar either. And so after reading that, I went back and watched that scene with that in mind. And it's just, it's heartbreaking, but it's executed really well. And I think the message, I mean, him calling for help and no one coming, I got that the first time around, but with that in mind, I just thought it was really well.
But also,
well
it adds to the narrative of like Oscar's fucked if he is, he's fucked if he doesn't.
Right. Well, and there's also the shots of the dog with the blood near his mouth, and then Oscar has the same shot later on in the station where he's laying on the ground and there's the pool of blood.
And no one's there to help. But also, it's just that like, what's on your shirt and there's blood, and like, his girlfriend's just like, he's done bad things. Like, and that's the thing I really like about the film is that they don't go out of their way to be like, Oscar's a saint. He did everything great. Like he has a criminal record. He's done bad things, but
he's trying.
He wasn't absent from wanting better. He wasn't absent from wanting a better life than what was given to him.
Sure.
And it wasn't that he was beyond the hope of ever getting that either.
One particular scene that kind of speaks to that point for me, that I have two scenes that are like my favorites that really pop out. Specifically, one is with the girlfriend Sofina, is the I'm just going to call it the 30 days to form a habit scene. I love
callback?
The callback, but I love that she calls him out on his bullshit, and she's kind of like, you ain't no big deal, and like just him throwing out the drugs, and her like realizing in the moment, like, wait, you don't have a job, you don't have any income, and you still threw out that gargantuan bag of drugs. And he's just like, I'm trying. I want to try to do good this time. And I just really love
fuck up for 30 days.
Yeah. I love the interchange of like between them, of like her realizing that he is trying. He has a sordid past. He doesn't have the greatest temper, but in this moment he's really trying. And you see it when his like any scene with his daughter, my God, so good. But the next scene that really like I just love, because I have friends like Grandma Bonnie. I have a black friend, Curtis C. He is just, I mean, he's sassy, and I feel like I've had this conversation with him, but I love, like you brought up, Corey, when she's like, you're at work, and she's gonna hang up on him. And I thought you were playing. I thought you were gonna play.
What kind of friends do you have, Josh?
You were playing on the phone.
Yeah.
But I just like, she doesn't know what kind of fish she wants to fry. Like, I just love that, like, honey, what are you doing with your life kind of thing.
Too.
I'll do one last thing and then we can move on to the next part, because this will get like a 4-hour long episode if we don't. I really like the end. I really like the end with Fina and her daughter in the shower, and she's gonna have to tell her the truth.
The heartbreaking question.
Well, I like it because there's no dialogue. there's this water. You're trying to clean off the ick and grime of the day before, and water is very important symbolically. If you don't know already, but like they're naked. They've taken off all the armor of what life is, and this is what we have left. And it's just that silent moment. You hear the water running, and you just know what's between them and what's missing, and you end. And to me, I'm a big fan of those endings where you don't get like a da-da-da, but also it's just like, oh shit! It's like, oh my God.
It doesn't need to. That's why. It doesn't need to give you any more than that.
And then it gets paired with the ending credits of the film where we see the real world of impact and effect, and we see live footage of everyone.
We see Tatiana.
Yeah, and so it's a really good film. It's a really good film. So. Anyone else before we go to favorite characters?
Again, I could go.
Okay. We'll do
day.
two. We'll do two favorite characters. Who wants to start out, baby?
Oscar and Wanda.
Okay. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No, I mean, no, I didn't mean to. I'm just. You said someone go, so here I go. For me, it can't not be Oscar. But Octavia Spencer plays it so well, and it's not to obviously not to the extent that I've been in prison, but we've all had that tough love moment with our mom at some point, I think, where, especially for me in high school, where I wasn't doing homework or anything. I almost failed out of high school. Had that moment of like my mom realizing that it's something that she can't put the kid gloves on with anymore and be gentle about it. It's like, look, we can either do this or you're going to fail out of high school and you have to move out. And I was like, oh, that's where we're at.
Note
now.
taken.
And I feel like she played that really real and there's not that she doesn't ever deliver, she always delivers on her performances, but it was just a very subtle thing in those moments. Obviously I could go in on the heartbreaking moments too, and how well she acted those, but the subtle things that she did for me really stood out. So
I'll go next just because it is a copy and paste. Yes, Oscar and Wanda. I'm always, anytime I see Octavia Spencer on the docket, I'm like, I'm in. I'm gonna watch. But yeah, I love the interactions between them. I do have personal experience with prison situation, not myself, but going to one to visit somebody, and that scene between the two of them, it's heartbreaking what she has to do in that moment, but it's so real. And I just loved watching the two, and Oscar I'm a sucker for a story for somebody who's trying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for it. And so just watching him go through of like, yeah, he's got this past and he's got certain things, but he's trying. He's really, really trying. And I love
stories,
it.
Man.
Dad stories and mom stories, man. Parent stories.
Parent stories.
Oh, real quick, because I really needed to say it. The bathroom scene with the restaurant is another when he's asking the restaurant person just one more to use the restroom.
With the web designer
and the exchange between him and the web designer.
Card.
He gets the card to start basically he gets an open foot in the door to jump into a career.
Sorry, next person.
Kaylin?
I really love Tatiana. Like that, I was like kind of blown away at how well
a child actor is.
I know, yeah, basically. I was like, oh my God.
Not since the day of Macaulay Culkin have we seen
well, like
dark butter.
She was doing like having a complicated relationship, but also that like unending love for a parent regardless of, even though she knows, she doesn't know, but she knows.
When he sneaks to the extra fruit snack.
Oh God, that was adorable. Yeah, Tatiana and Wanda, because the hard mom conversation and like knowing that their relationship now, like even when they first show it, is like, that there's history that we're not touching yet, and then when you get to it, you're like, there it is.
Yeah, I mean, when we were watching it, just the scene where she's like, you should take the train. And then Dana goes, oh, so she has to live with that too. And I was like, shh.
Jesus. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then she ends up saying it in the film.
Yeah.
For me,
But they play that really well because she tries to, she's on him about being safe in the car. He's obviously not, she knows he's not safe driving.
Yeah.
With the whole earpiece thing and stuff. So it's tough. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
For me, it's I forget the character's name actually, but so Oscar for sure, and then his friend at the supermarket.
Keep talking. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I really just enjoyed their relationship, and that to me that's the thing about it where it's like it's not hard for me to understand a human life matters, and that there are these terrible things that happen to Black people in particular when it comes to law enforcement and stuff like that. And so just altercations in history have not been favorable. But the film, I think I have a little bit of
That's Keenan Coogler.
There it is, Keenan Coogler.
That's his brother.
And so I really just enjoyed their, as Josh had mentioned in our Patreon stuff, curmudgeonly, their camaraderie. Check that out.
Character's name is Kato.
Kato. I really enjoyed that between them, meeting up at the store, hey man, help me out with this thing. We got it. We were
and he has that.
Afterwards.
He's like, I work here, and he's like,
yeah, sure. And and that it's just the bro code a little bit, but also just hey, don't give me the good ones from the back. I know what it is. And it's that kind of stuff where it's and I'm not gonna lie, and I don't want to romanticize any type of bravado or anything like that, but the wanting to help your friends when they're in a fight, no matter what it is, you want to be there for them, and you want to, make sure that
have your friends back, whether it's physical or emotional fight or whatever it is.
Yeah, you want to make sure that whatever hurt them, you hurt harder. That's sometimes how much you care about somebody, and I get that, and I joke about it on the show, but it's if anyone ever hurt y'all, I'm who the I gotta punch, because I don't care getting hurt, but I care if other people get hurt, and that's that friend value that I tend to really get gear towards. And so seeing that happen where it's hey man, we have plans, we're going to do this, yada yada, but we're always gonna have each other's back, and everyone, the squad comes out when we're all down, it's the squad comes out, and I'm all for that. And so there's a part of me where it's yeah, it's not just one person, it's everyone else's lives too. So now we'll go on to the qualms. The qualms. Who would like to start out?
Natai.
Oh, takers, Caitlin?
You said it earlier, but I really would have not put that the phone footage at the beginning. I was out for the whole film because of it. I couldn't be immersed. The family scenes were the only ones where I could be okay, I know what this film is doing, and I could kind of settle into it.
The grip let up a little bit.
The grip let up a little bit, but the rest of the time, clenched muscles of yep.
Is it safe to assume that this was very trigger inducing?
Extremely. Yeah, that was rough. That's it for me.
Josh, Corey, who wants to go next?
None.
Corey, none. Josh,
none. I don't have any. I mean, for a minute, it was the dog scene just because of my dog thing, and just having something happen to a dog. But that's
that's rough.
That it's not really a qualm. It's just but otherwise, as a film, as a whole, I have none.
Well, Josh, can I interest you in Last of Us Part 2?
Oh my God, no.
I bet they treat dogs very well in that one.
No.
For me, nah, man. Part of me is I would love them to reshoot it with a baller camera, but part of it's no, the charm and beauty of it is because of what they had. So I wouldn't change anything of this film because it's $900,000. It's not even $1 million movie. You fucking kidding me, guys? So yeah, again, my whole jealousy of Ryan Coogler is yeah, he's doing it. He's fucking killing it, and he's doing it really well, and he's being true to himself. So no, I have no qualms. So the part of the reason why the quote unquote anger, I did talk to him after the film, and I was just hey man, I'm a young blah blah blah. If there's any blah blah blah, and there wasn't that much of a here's what you can do. It was more he just said stay true to who you are, and I was that doesn't help me, bro. But
I don't want that kind of advice.
But he's not wrong.
yeah, it's important. So, but yeah, I don't have any qualms with the less than $1 million movie.
Ratings.
Go for the ratings. Corey, you go first.
5, of course.
5.
That's easy.
Solid 5.
I wouldn't change a damn thing about this. I haven't seen a movie like this in probably like 10 plus years that really I think is a perfect film.
I already wrote mine down, baby. Mine's 5.
Of course it is.
Who am I kidding? You know, I can hate Ryan Coogler as a human being, but I can't deny that this is like it's stupid
and
how
envy
good it
are
is.
2 different things. You don't hate him as a human being. Yeah. You just said you like what he's doing.
No, he's it's good. It's I hope more of this comes out and he doesn't have to like, well, here's a Marvel and then like someone else directs all the CGI action sequences. And it's like, you know, you could do different, but you know, he has to get into that. And so it's tough. It's tough for these like indie directors to get into like CGI fight scenes. Josh, or wait, who's next?
Josh.
Oh, I'm definitely last.
I am going to give it a 5.
5.
This movie is perfect. It's hard to say this about a movie kind of like this, but I love this movie.
They also use Dutch angle really well.
Huh?
They use the Dutch angle right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
They don't use it too much. They don't use it too much.
I only noticed it in one shot, really. Well, then there's the upside down Dutch angle, but I only noticed it in the one.
Yeah, I think this movie is perfect. If that's I think
it's extremely important for people to watch.
Yeah, I think it has.
It might be hard for some people to see it, but there is an entire culture of people that have to see this on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important to. I think that this movie, as an experience, as a story, even just from a technical aspect, it's good. Mm-hmm. It's good. Kaylin?
All right, Kaylin, gotta do it to him.
Oh yeah, we all know I'm the grump. Like, of course we do. 3.5.
3.5 for the Kaylin.
I always put my ratings based on like my entertainment of a thing, and or you know, I have my one-off of like
your experience.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah, like, but really, that clip at the beginning. Nope.
It became a documentary for you, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, nope. That's it for me.
Sure.
All right.
That's it.
Caitlin is the grumpy grump.
So everyone was right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. All right. That has been the.
So shout outs.
Shout outs, Josh. Calm down.
Jeez.
And as always,
Dana P gets a shout out, and Liam M gets shout outs for getting it right.
You know.
The rest of you,
emotions. Just kidding.
Incorrect. The rest of you, as Corey always says, we love you. No, I'm kidding.
Awesome.
So now Josh.
Yeah, now cue Josh. So everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. If you have seen this movie, Fruitvale Station, please reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts. It is on Netflix. Join. Use your words, Josh. Join that Discord. There is a movie channel in there, and we can continue the conversation over there. If you are new to Nerd On, welcome. Check out our website, nerdon.tv. It has all the information on everything that we do, has all of the links to where we are, like Apple, Spotify, iHeart, all of the things, YouTube. We have 2 channels, actually. All of our episodes here on this channel, and we also have a gaming channel, Nerd On TV, so check that out. And our Twitch. Check out our Twitch. We are streaming practically every single day, and there is a variety of content that you can see over there of different games and all that kind of stuff. So check that out, nerdon.tv/Twitch. Subscribe, rate and review. That kind of stuff does help. Share us with your friends and your family. That's how we grow. It's the good stuff. Check out the Patreon, nerdon.tv/Patreon. And that's the housekeeping. Thank you so much for listening.
Make this shower be a grower.
Why do you got to do that?
I liked it. I think that was
That's just, I think anyway.
That was
the better
it.
ones you've done.
Wow.
Okay. You know the drill, everyone. As always, nerd on.
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.